and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name's Ailey. Today's video is going to be all about hooded eyes and the do's and don'ts of eyeshadow. Everything that I say in this video is from personal experience. It is directly related to my eyes, so may not work for everyone, because if you have hooded eyes like me, you will know there are about 1 million different degrees of hooded eyedness, if that makes any sense. To help you understand a little bit better, I have puffy hooded eyes. I call them puffy, you could call them droopy hooded eyes, you know, things like that, but there are probably about 1 million different variations of hooded eyes, which makes it a little bit of a nightmare, because I find when I go onto YouTube and look for hooded eye tutorials that you see them creating these massive big winged liners and stuff like that, and I'm like, well, your eyes aren't hooded. They are hooded, they're just not hooded to the degree that mine are hooded. So I think that it's really good to have an array of different hooded eye tutorials. If there are enough tutorials, you should be able to find somebody with eyes similar enough to yours that you can then recreate. I know from personal experience that I could never find anybody with eyes like mine, and I know from past videos that people have commented and said that they do have eyes similar to mine, or that the videos have helped them in some way, which is amazing to me. I find that really, really good and really helpful to me as well, because I know that somebody's benefiting from what I'm doing. So yeah, if you want to see the do's and the don'ts for my style of hooded eyes, like how I say style there, for my type of hooded eyes, then just keep watching and we'll get right into it. Okay, so now that we're all up close and personal, you know that I love this angle. I'm going to do the don'ts on this side and I'm going to do the do's on this side. As I said in the beginning, please don't take these as complete rules. There is no rules when it comes to makeup. If you like how it looks, that's all that matters. Because I say, I don't know, for example, you can't wear a winged eyeliner, don't feel like you can't wear a winged eyeliner. If you can make it work, or even if you like the way it looks when it's done, you do you, because makeup is all about self-expression. You shouldn't do your makeup any specific way to please anybody else. You should only ever do it to please yourself. So before we start, I'm going to show you my eyes a little bit up close. If you've watched my videos in the past, you will have seen them already, but here you go. My camera is angled up from me a little bit, so I am looking slightly up, but I will look straight ahead for you. You will see that the crease of my eye comes right out to the outer corner. So that means that the crease starts here and it comes right into the inner corner, so it's a full hood that I have on my eye. When I was younger, this wasn't always the case. My eye probably sat like that. So as you can see here, the hood now only comes about 3/4 of the way out, and you've got all this sort of space here. That's when you can do a really nice winged liner and it doesn't look weird. Now if I take my finger here and do that, that is still considered a hooded eye. Now it's a very slight hooded eye, and a lot of the tutorials I've seen on YouTube, this is what they say when they have hooded eyes. But the hood, I nearly poked myself in the eye. The hood only really kind of comes in here. You can see the crease. I mean, I would kill for eyes like this. Obviously not with the eyebrow way up here, but you know what I mean. So if I drop that back down again, you see that my hood comes right the way out to the outside. And it's pretty symmetrical on both eyes, I would say. This eyebrow sits a little bit lower and I still haven't coaxed it up enough, I would say. So it does look a little bit more droopy, but I am working on that. But for the most part, they are fully hooded and they are droopy. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to prime. The reason that we're priming is because of the hood, you will get transfer. And the transfer does still happen when you prime. Don't believe what anybody says to you. Unless you are using a really, really good eyeshadow that really doesn't transfer, you always get a little bit of transfer. That's just what happens. So what it prevents is it prevents it taking the colour off of your lid onto the hood of your eye. So yes, it may transfer, but it won't transfer all of the pigment because it is held down. So you're not going to end up with like bald patches where there should be pigment. So I just used the Paint Really Paint Pot from MAC. This is my favourite eye primer ever. You can use concealer, you can use Urban Decay primer potions. There's loads and loads of different primers on the market. Ow, I just poked myself in the eye. And there you go. The other side obviously is my don'ts. First don't is don't not prime. That's like, it took me ages to figure out how to say that. But the next one I would say is set the primer that you've put down on your eyes, because it can be a total nightmare to blend. This is optional, you don't have to do this. I know Nikki Tutorials doesn't do this. She has hooded eyes, but like I said, she doesn't have fully hooded eyes. She only has a hood on the inner corner. The next do I would say is lay down a transition shade. Now, I would say this is different from everybody else that lays down a transition shade. They do it for blending purposes and things like that. I do it to get an idea of where I want my shadows to come up to. I can see, and I don't know if it's just because I'm used to it or what, but I can see like a shadow in here. So this shadow is my like upper crease. This is where I would put the very top of my crease. And I just take a colour that's maybe a shade or two darker than my natural skin tone, that is very skin toned colour. So I'm using Silk Cream from the Jaclyn Hill palette. I find this shade is the perfect transition shade for me. And with the shape of my eyebrows, obviously people's eyebrows are all different shapes, but with the shape of my eyebrows, I take it from the tail just into where the kind of bulk of my eyebrow is. I don't pull it right in. I just sort of, I mean sometimes I do, but generally that's what I do. So you can see that you get that sort of little guide as such. So I'm not going to do that on this side. The one thing I would say is a do is have the right size brushes for your eyes. Now I didn't do this for a really long time. I just had like 3 brushes that I used that were massive, that didn't help me get a precise application. So I have this one that basically sets my whole entire eye, that gives me that little kind of fluff of colour up in the top crease there. But if I was going to try and do some like work in and around my crease or that, it's too big. I mean look, it covers almost my entire, the top of my lid. That's absolutely useless for me. I have the Morphe R38 brush, and that is this one. I am going to get the R39 because I know it's smaller, but this one is a pretty good size. As you can see, it comes to a point here and it sits in nicely. The same with a brush like this. This is the Real Techniques base shadow brush. This one is sort of skinny. Over here. This one is sort of a skinny brush and it comes to a sort of point, but it's long as well. So it fits really nicely in my crease. So if I want to do any sort of cut crease work or that, I use this brush. And it is just all about trial and error. Some brushes will work really well for you, some brushes won't work well for you. So I'm going to take this. Now, the do for this next step is do ignore your crease. This is the crease of my eye here. As you can see, it's the part where the skin creases. So ignore that. That's my next do. And reinvent your crease. Your crease, and I'm going to use this little brush, I think I've done this in a video in the past, your crease is here. You're going to shift it to here. Now I'm poking myself in the eye here to make a point. Here is my brow bone, and I can feel it because it's sort of hard. If I move the brush down just slightly, it goes squidgy. That is my new crease. So see how I can sort of push the brush in there? That is my new crease. So the do is create a new crease, because if you'll see on the other side when I do it, you'll see what happens if you don't do this step. So as you can see, when I'm looking straight ahead, you can still see the colour here. Now it's fallen down into my crease a little bit, so I'm just going to pull it up slightly like that. So when my eyes are open, you can see the shadow. So I will tap in just a little bit more and I will just take that there. You can see where it's deepening it up. And then I'll pull it in. You always want to dump your brush on this outside bit, so that's where the most of your pigment's going. Generally, you want to lift your eye. Because your eye is so pulled down because of the hoodedness, you want to lift it. On this side, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off, I'm not going to do a transition shade, I'm going to take Pukey again. I'm going to take it on the same brush. Don't lift your eyebrows when you're doing this, and then don't place the colour in your crease. So I'm lifting my eyebrows. I mean, I would love if my eyes looked like that. That would be amazing, but they don't at the end of the day. I'm doing the same thing. I'm putting it in and I'm working the colour on the outer edge, and then I'm pulling it in, and then I'm working it up. But I'm leaving a really big gap. Because my crease is quite small, you know, the actual amount that's folded over is quite small, it has sort of crept up a little bit. So that's good. And this is how I used to do my eyeshadow. And I'm pulling this right in as well. Everything that I've kind of worked and done in here, a lot of it is covered by the hood of my eye. And it has kind of just accentuated the hood a little bit. It's not lifted my eye at all, as you can see. I can see when I'm looking in the mirror straight ahead that this eye just looks really droopy now, and it looks really dark. Don't put your crease shade in your crease. I know it sounds weird, but just don't do it. So the next step is I'll go into Mocha with the same brush, just because this is like my favourite brush, and I will take it sort of where my crease is. Now this is where you sort of have to not do any like tilting or looking around or anything like that. And I will do this slightly above my crease. Not quite as high as the last shade, but there anyway. And I will pull this very lightly into where my actual crease is. But as you can see, I've not really pulled that much. Once the brush literally has no product left on it, I will just blend it into the Pukey shade. And then what I'll do is I'll go back into Pukey and I'll add that back into anywhere it was sort of blended away. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this same brush again, I'm going to go into Mocha, and everybody always says in their tutorials is you put in that crease shade and then you put in the other darker shade slightly below it. So I'm going to do that now. And then they do say once you've got all the pigment off, blend upwards, just like that. And as you can see, it just looks muddy and it's really, really closed in my eye. I mean, you could get away with it. It does look like a pretty decent sort of smoky eye-ish. Not really, but you know, it's when you don't have hooded eyes, you don't have to be as precise, you don't have to take quite as much care. As you can see, you can't even see the Pukey colour over here anymore. That shade looks, and it actually doesn't do the palette or the eyeshadow justice. It makes it look really, really hard to blend. It makes it look really patchy. It just hasn't, it looks horrible. Do add a lighter shade to the inner portion of your eye. And I would say do bring this up, you know, off of your eyelid. Bring it up into your crease or cover. Yeah, it can look a little bit weird, but you're going to take your blending brush and just blend the edges, because all it's going to do is it's just going to brighten up that shade that you've already got there a little bit. So with this other side, I'm not going to use such a sort of bright shade, and I'm just going to cover the eyelid. It is still a really nice shimmery shade, but all I've done is I've added the shade to my lid. I've not pulled it up at all. I've not really blended it out or anything like that. I've just stuck it on and that's that. So that is definitely a don't just stick it on your lid. Definitely pull it up a little bit, blend it out, and it's good to make it brighter on the inner corner, which brings me to my next step, which is always highlight your inner corner. I'm going to take in light just because I used Beam already here, and I'm going to highlight my inner corner with that. As you can see, it just brings a little bit of light. I'm not going to do this side. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to highlight my brow bone. Now you can do this with a matte shade as well. You don't have to use a shimmer. I just really, really like this shade. That is one side with the eyeshadow, all the don'ts, the other side with all the do's. And as you can see, this eye is a lot more open. It's a lot more lifted. Even my eyebrow looks lifted. It actually looks like I'm doing that a little bit when I'm looking in the viewfinder. But as you can see, these steps are working so far. I'm going to do the winged liner how 99% of tutorials tell you how to do winged eyeliner. So that would be your winged eyeliner. Looks great. I mean, the end could be a little bit sharper. It's just, there you go. Nice winged eyeliner. And then I will look at you and look up and, well, it looks horrible. Mainly because when I was doing it, I was doing that, and the hood just cuts it off. I don't know, it's weird. When I look down, the line is straight, and then when I look up, it comes in here, and then my eye goes up like that. Instead of that nice cat eye, it's dragging my eye down. You may, depending on the degree of hoodedness of your eyes, be able to do this. I can't, and it looks ridiculous. So I'm going to show you how I would do it if I was wearing eyeliner. I'm going to make the line from my inner corner to my outer corner as thin as humanly possible. Just like that. I mean, you can barely even see it's there. You can see it in comparison to this one. It's literally just the tiniest little line. So when I was doing it, I totally smudged it. As I said, it takes a lot of concentration. But basically what I did was I took it sort of just off the angle of like where my waterline is, and I've basically just made like a little stump. A little stumpy wing. It literally just comes out past my hood and no more. And it's just this, obviously it's not like a big cat flick like this, it's just a little stumpy one, and all it does is sort of elongate my eye. It doesn't lift it up or anything like that, but it does sort of just give it a little bit of something. So this would be a do go and watch my mascara hack video and do this trick. Okay, so I think last but not least is gonna be the lower lash line, and that is a do something to your lower lash line. So I'm gonna take Pukey on my R38 brush and just run this. Then I'm gonna grab the Mocha shade on, this is a flat e.l.f. eyeliner brush. I like it for my lower lash line, and I'm just going to press that into the base of the lashes. And your don't would be don't go crazy on the lower lash line. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it. There's probably loads more that I could have included, but that is it for, I think, this video, because I think it might be lasting forever. I'm just going to zoom out and I'll let you see the sort of overall end result. So this is the end result of this little experiment that we just did, and I've seen loads of do's and don'ts on YouTube, and I think that it works for every different eye shape. There can never be too many of them. I think that the more of them there are, and the more tutorials on different eye shapes, face shapes, you know, all that sort of thing, the better, because the easier it is for people to find things that relate to them. So this, if you have eyes like mine, are my do's and don'ts. As I said in the beginning, this is just my personal experience and my opinion. If you think this eye looks great, then more power to you. You keep doing what you're doing. But in my opinion, this eye is the do eye and this eye is the don't. I hope that this video was helpful in some sort of ways. I look 7 shades of crazy right now. But yeah, I really hope that this helped you in some way. Maybe it'll give you some little tips even. As I said, take everything I say with a pinch of salt. If it works for you, it works for you. I'm just sharing a little bit of my experience and a little bit of my tips and tricks. If there's anything else you want to know, or you have any tips and tricks or do's and don'ts, leave them in the comments section for me, because I would love to read them. But apart from that, I think we are pretty much done. I need to do something with this face because I look crazy. So if you enjoyed this video, I would love if you would give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I do post videos every Monday, Wednesday and Friday, so hopefully I will see you in the next one. Bye!